Hello, my name is Jordan Friedman. I'm a partner with Moroch here in New Orleans. Thank you very much for joining us. Also with me is Michon, Ellis, CEO of Clout, Chicago-based public relations and reputation management firm. Also with me is Jerald O'Kennard, the director of the Beverage Testing Institute, perhaps one of the country's leading consultancies in the beverage space, providing reviews, product strategy and go-to-market strategy for both startup and well-established beverage and liquid brands. And together, we are the Beverage Development Marketing Alliance, and we're here to provide those in the beverage industry with ideas about how they can pivot their marketing efforts right now in light of the COVID-19 crisis. Please keep in mind our recommendations here are very much in the tactical realm rather than the strategic realm, because right now, frankly, there really is no time to go to a normal creative development cycle that can take 12 to 18 months. So our recommendations are based upon what you currently have in your asset base and what can be deployed immediately. So without further ado, why don't we launch into it? Michon, please. So what we're seeing here is really one of the main the primary battleground right now is the off-premise point of sale space. According to data that's been coming out, particularly from Nielsen and other leading consumer indicator providers, there's been very strong sales in liquor stores, convenience stores, corner stores, and supermarkets, which are open and considered essential businesses. We believe that as stay-at-home orders continue, this trend is going to continue. Smart players should double down right now on their in-store and point of sales efforts. We have some specific recommendations. Next slide, please. So the data is in. We have been taking a look at a lot of data and metrics providers, but we thought that for the purposes of this presentation, we'd focus on Nielsen, being that it's a household name and the gold standard in terms of consumer insights and data. So what we found, according to Nielsen in their recent reports, is that U.S. sales of alcoholic beverages rose 55% for the week ending in March 21st. We believe that's continuing now. Sales of spirits, specific spirits like tequila, gin, and pre-mixed cocktails jumped 75% compared to the same period last year. Wine sales are up 66%, while beer sales rose 42%. We believe this is particularly notable because these are both categories that have seen some decline over the years. So this is quite a hockey stick resurgence. Astoundingly, hard seltzers, continue to be the beer category's growth driver, increasing sales 327% and gaining 2.5 share points during the week, outpacing pre-crisis growth rates. Also, very notably, that while off-premise, in-store sales were very strong, online orders really were a major driver here, and online sales were up 243%. That's not a typo. Next slide, please. Now, taking a look, focusing on the point of sale, you can just go back for a sec. Perfect. So in terms of in-store, we recommend that brands take a look at their storerooms, warehouses, storage areas, and do an immediate audit of their existing in-store promotional assets, including displays, giveaways, tchotchkes, etc. We also think that right now it's important to have an immediate understanding of where your products are placed in retail locations. You might need to twist some arms to get your products prominently placed, as opposed to some dusty back corner. This is something where you're gonna need to have to lean in on this. And point of sale clearly is the battleground. So all marketing efforts on all channels should be geared towards driving sales and direct engagement with customers. The next slide, please. But, in the same right, delivery is the new point of sale. Online sales have been beyond imagination, and we believe this is going to continue. Relationships and partnerships with these channels, including players like Drizzly, need to be fully understood. And if you don't have these relationships already, they need to be established. And if they have been established, they need to be strengthened immediately. Branded partnerships and promotions need to be explored. And in-store giveaways and other ways of engaging with your customers in the in-store realm need to be integrated into the online delivery realm, because you're going to need to somehow replicate that retail experience. I should note later in the presentation, Jerald is going to drill down a bit on how to establish and deepen relationships with your online channels. The next slide, please, Michon. So right now we want to talk about linking digital, social media, and point of sale marketing. While there are obviously restrictions on how alcohol brands can market themselves, the brands do have the ability to engage with people who meet specific guidelines, particularly age guidelines. So alcohol brands should make themselves familiar with these guidelines and restrictions if they're not already. Digital and social media platforms can help to support in-store efforts by promoting partnerships, giveaways, and promotional limited time offerings, obviously for qualified audiences. Geofencing is one specific method that can be used effectively and can be implemented immediately. For brands that have eye-catching, unique in-store assets, such as the Guinness tank that we were just looking at, promoting these assets on social media platforms can help to create awareness of these assets, which is then reinforced when customers see these assets in the store. This is another specific way to link social media and in-store marketing efforts directly. Next slide, please. And then from here, we're going to segue into Michon's portion of the presentation, which is your online engagement, but also helping to drive in the point of sales realm. We recommend leveraging influencer relationships, which can help to add horsepower to your social media efforts. Restrictions and guidelines still apply, but working with influencers, there is a greater degree of latitude. Also, your force magnification is tremendous because many of these folks have a lot of eyeballs. So these influencers can directly support your in-store marketing efforts and can also drive awareness and extend the reach of promotions, giveaways, and other marketing elements. So with this, I pass the baton to Michon to talk about ways you can continue engaging with your customers.
Thanks, Jordan, and good morning, everyone. Again, thanks for the time today. We're excited to be able to, share some information with you that could help drive your business. And again, we appreciate the time this morning. As we look at that online experience, which right now, we highly recommend that you do power up your public relations and social media efforts. That brand communication is so important right now, given that everything is being pushed online, given what's happening right now in the country. So brand communication, brand voice has to be engaging and emotive because it's a competitive space for sure. And the position that we've been sharing with clients is it's about how do you contribute online versus focusing on conversion. And that is a major point that we can't stress enough, because during this time, you want to be seen as a brand that is a good corporate citizen and acknowledging that you are experiencing what your everyday consumer is experiencing. So one way to do that, one platform to do that, as Jordan said, is online. So social media is a big place for it. So let's talk a little bit about that. So what we all tend to think about and tend to deploy centers around prepackaged content. Now that's your videos and that sort of thing. And so we recommend still doing those things, keeping, again, is that content contributing to making things better for consumers? That's one part of it. We're also seeing something very interesting, and that is the growth of live streaming. It's always been there, but it is seeming to become the lead horse now as far as engagement with consumers online. And there's some fun things that are happening. And we think this is a great opportunity for beverage brands to get involved in a very meaningful way. Now, so the question is, how do you do that? Lifestyle, culture are still great doors to walk through from a beverage brand perspective. But the trick is, how do you do something or how do you roll out live streaming content that is engaging? So we want to talk a little bit about that. Music will always be popular, especially when we start talking lifestyle. Music is a big part of it. What we're seeing online is a lot of live DJ sets. DJ D Nice has done some really great things. He's a DJ out of New York. Little John, T-Pain are all doing these sort of midday happy hour sessions that have gone over really well. And we're now starting to see some brands incorporated into their sets. So again, it's hot right now. And, this is something, if you're not doing it, I would think about maybe some sort of partnership with someone involved with music. So, when we look at this, we thought about, okay, we're starting to see a lot of DJ sets. What can we do that might be slightly different? And so some things that came to mind for us is, especially if you're an adult beverage brand, could you, do some sort of themed party where every part of the DJ set is named after a cocktail or a recipe that is in your portfolio. That's a fun thing to do. Also, help discover some, unique DJs around the country and dedicate a cocktail to them or something like that, where it's part of supporting, the community, but also weaving in messaging around your brand. And again, there are a million ways to go. Those are just some initial thought starters on our end. Bartender advocacy. Now is the time. If you don't have a strong relationship with bartenders that are in key accounts and markets where you sell, now is the time to either rekindle that relationship or foster one. But bartender advocacy is a huge opportunity, especially if you're a challenger brand. There's some traditional things that you certainly can do. That is, traditional trainings around mixology, proper etiquette, and all those kinds of things. There's certainly opportunities to do some sort of bartender competition, whether it's through a live stream Q&A, chat room kind of scenario, or some sort of Facebook polling that's shared through live streaming. That could be really cool to do. Just something to break it up a little bit. One thing that we are seeing based on our conversations with bartenders is how to prepare to return to work. There's so much that has happened with these guys not working. Is there an opportunity for a brand to step up and help these guys get ready to return to the workforce? Again, a great way to stay top of mind with these guys. So what that content is, we can certainly work with you on how to build something, but helping them to return to work, we believe, is a white space that no one is owning right now. Bartender advocacy. Another area is what we're calling edutainment, and some brands are putting fun videos up and doing some live streaming around how to make a cocktail at home, giving fun tips and that sort of thing, and talking about different flavors, where they come from. We think there's an opportunity to do more of that. Our consumers are, folks that are online are starving for information. They're starving to be entertained. So why not do some live streaming around cocktail making, and exploring ingredients, even something as basic as, why does a martini glass look the way it does? Something fun like that. Consumers are looking for things that they can do and do at home. So maybe another opportunity centers around drinks that only require 3 ingredients, something quick and fun that they can do at home. So edutainment with the consumer is a big area for opportunity too. And just to wrap this up, influencers, and I'm sure you guys are nodding your head saying, yeah, we use influencers. We're all about the ground game. And what we mean by that is micro influencers, going away from the big name celebrity. Yeah, these guys may have 1 million followers, but what we tend to do is look at the number of followers. That's important, but we also look at the engagement rate. So if you have 1 million followers, and of that 1 million, you post something, of that 1 million, only 100 people engage with you, that's a pretty low engagement score versus a micro influencer that may have 1,000 followers. They post something and 500 people engage with that post. You want to work with those guys. So when we're looking at this, and what we're saying to brands is, look at your key markets where you're doing business. Let's identify some micro influencers that we can build relationships with, and push some of your regional products, or push some of your coastal products through these guys, you'll get a higher engagement. It's a better return on your money. A great example of that is here in Chicago, there's a group called the DJ Firm. And last Friday, they put on a set. And I call these guys micro-influencers. And they put on a set and featured DJs from around the city. The engagement rate was through the roof. I see it as an opportunity for a brand to get with these guys and again, somehow weave in a narrative that's relevant for what they're doing, but somehow celebrates your brand and your contribution back to the culture. So again, micro-influencers, bartender advocacy, edutainment for consumers are all great areas that brands can take advantage of right now. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to my partner, Jerald. He's going to talk a little bit more about some tactical approaches.
Thank you, Michon, and greetings, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'd like to talk a little bit about some data that we've collected, to sort of shed some light on some of these tactics that we are advocating. We want to look at what people are searching for. As people are at home, they're on their phones, they're searching for things, they're taking in content, they're looking for things to drink. So what brands and categories are they searching for? So I talked to my contacts at Drizzly, and the top spirits brands that they're searching for are Tito's, Jameson, Bulleit, Smirnoff, and Svedka. White Claw is obviously the top seller in the category of hard seltzers, and certainly on Drizzly. Other brands, Tito's, Jameson, Josh Cellar's Cabernet, Bulleit, Lamarco, which is Gallo, of course, Oyster Bay, Sauvignon Blanc. So these are the big guys. These are the people that are doing in-app programs to get their brand up higher and have also organic name recognition. So how do you position your brand against the category leaders? I think it's really important that all of your efforts and your materials and your focus talk about your unique tastes, value, packaging, and story. These are things that you have to always highlight and say, hey, if you have a more interesting kind of packaging or story, make sure that that's part of your messaging. If you have a value proposition, driven by the quality of your liquid, at BTI we sign things best buys, and let people know that, for the same money or, half the price, you could get something that tastes even better. So I think that's really important to emphasize those fundamental taste and value propositions. Also, I got some more information from Drizzly, just astounding numbers to Jordan's point. They're up 461% over their baseline. Every Friday since 320 has been their largest Friday ever. 40% of all orders are new customers, and the new customer percentage increase is 1,200%. And the average cart, which I asked specifically about, is up 74%. So people are shopping online and they're shopping in record amounts. There's hoarding going on. There's celebrations at all ranges of the price spectrum, value, as well as these luxury splurges too, that people want to say, hey, it's time to pop some fancy stuff too and really celebrate. So let's talk a little bit about, in the next slide, some data from BTI. So we obviously, next slide, please, Michon. We run tastings.com, which is one of the major websites for product reviews in the beverage space. Actually, the slide previous. Thank you. So our trending reviews in the last 10 days, if you take a look, you see a lot of Kirkland products, which is a Costco brand. And you'll also see some Costco exclusives like Rancho Gloria Margarita, Santo Moscato d'Asti. If you look at the whole top 10 over the last 10 days, now we get 100,000 unique viewers every month. So this is, between 5,000 and 10,000 reviews basically over the last 10 days. This is the breakout of what's trending. And what we're seeing is a big shift to in-store and pre-store searches, specifically Costco here in this example. 6 out of these 10 brands are Costco affiliated brands. But my question is, why are people searching for those? Because if they're in Costco, they want to know what's the quality of these things. How do the critics rate them? So they're coming to our site to get those ratings to make their decisions. Well, but why do they have to do that? Because Costco, unfortunately, is not putting in, ratings for everything that they have in the beverage space. And if they do, sometimes it's a couple of vintages out or vintage out. It's not the exact vintage. So they're looking for the up-to-date information. They're searching for these products, even in the store or before they go to the store. So I think that's really important to have your reviews and your POS up to date online in places like, tastings.com and other review sites. In the stores, which, speak to Jordan's point, make sure that you have your point of sale that's emphasizing your quality, your ratings, your tasting notes, so people know what they are going to get. They are looking at these things very closely, and it's a mistake to assume that they're not, and they're just shopping on price or brand. Next slide, please. Thank you. Virtual tasting. So, I do tastings for a living. I've been doing that for 20 years. I'm seeing a lot of the virtual tastings that are happening out there. And so this is just a list of do's and don'ts, just in terms of the things that I've seen so far to date. And I think the number one thing is have a structure, have an agenda. If you need to, have a syllabus that you can hand out in a document form or have available to download from your site. Just don't improv it. The kind of, hey, what are we drinking tonight kind of loose thing, that's going to be diminishing. I think people are really digging in to the products that they're drinking now, and they're trying to find out more about them. I've got some direct evidence for that based on inquiries that come into tastings.com. We've actually had phone calls of people asking, what is residual sugar? Why are people putting sugar in my wine? I don't understand. Can you explain it to me? So I get on the phone and I talk to people about distillation and fermentation, and how the grape must have sweetness to it, and that's how it turns into alcohol and so forth. So people are hungry for this kind of knowledge, and that's what I'm trying to get at, is that let's talk about the unique category that you are in, your unique product. Let's talk about the flavors, how it's made, why it's what it is, and why it tastes the way. People are really hungry for that. They want to be educated in this time, and you really can't out-entertain other channels without massive investment and talent and production. So why not focus in on the quality? You can certainly make it interesting. You can bring in partners, and we'll talk about that in the next slide. But I really think the low-hanging fruit is education, and that's going to produce the most memorable brand experience and really actionable brand experience for you. People are going to take something away. You're going to teach them how to fish, and they're going to fish with your brand. So as we tap into the bartenders and the Psalms and the Cicerones, many of whom are out of work right now, set up events with them, support them. I mean, give them an agenda and give them a mission to work with you and support them financially as they do so, to help their their followers and the people they touch, educate them about your brand. I mean, really, they have people that are supporting them with virtual tip jars, with all sorts of fundraisers and gift certificate drives. Add to that mix, get them supported during this very difficult time, and work with them to turn people onto your brand and why people should be looking at your brand. And I always talk to our panelists at BTI, and they're trade buyers for the most part. They are out of work, but they're still making menu decisions. They're still making list decisions for their organizations while they are furloughed. And they're looking very closely at how brands are behaving and what they're supporting. Are they supporting the local USBG Bartender Guild chapter in their area? Are they making other kind of charitable contributions? How are they behaving is being looked at very, very closely right now. So make sure that you're a good brand that does good for them. Next slide, please. So creating lifelong brand relationships by captivating a captive audience. And this goes back to Michon's point about contributing, not converting, by sharing knowledge. I think that's what I'm advocating here, is that's what's going to keep people really deeply engaged for longer than just a session online. Teach them about the pairings. I mean, demystify how they can enjoy your brand with food, with other products. Let them hear from your cadre of beverage pros that you've aligned yourself with. Make sure that they, understand that this is something that can be amplified by knowing how to combine it in the right way, whether it's combining, wine and beer with foods, or different spirits and liqueurs with others to make cocktails, serving it in the right glassware to amplify the experience. I mean, people are at home and they're looking to really make the most of the time that they have to be at home. Why not give them the knowledge to have the best possible experience? And then also, really, the way people are making decisions isn't just strictly on ratings and reviews. I wish it was, but they're also looking at environmental and social responsibility. Where does your brand line out with those kind of perspectives? Are people aware of what you're doing on those terms? Make sure that if you are positioned as a social and environmentally responsible brand, that you tell people that and communicate that as well. So, we're advocating partnering with chefs, beverage professionals that might be furloughed, to create these kind of online events that incorporate food, that incorporate education with cocktails. You can do partnerships with glassware, as Jordan spoke to earlier, as far as point of sale and in delivery, but have those glassware companies and suppliers available for your online virtual experiences too. Tie it all together. Also accessories, the openers, the various preservation gadgets. People are going to want to, have a glass of wine and preserve it. So find somebody that can align with you on that, kind of sustainability tactic as well. So what I'm saying here is let's create a holistic lifestyle changing solution for your customers by really bringing it all together. Partnerships with people that are furloughed that could really use the help and can help you as well. And then also, bringing in entertainment as you need to keep things moving along. But I think that's really what I've seen as far as successful virtual tastings and virtual engagements by brands. And so with that, I think we'll turn it back to Jordan and we'll take a few questions.
Well, thank you very much, Jerald and Michon. At this point, if it doesn't look like we have any questions, I think this would be a good time to conclude the presentation. And please feel free to reach out to us if there's anything further that you want to discuss about point of sale strategy, tactics rather, consumer engagement tactics, or other ways of getting your product out into the marketplace and making sure people understand your product. So thank you very much for your time and for your attention.
Bye-bye.